So, Robert brought Amir in. I checked out their Instagram page and they're doing CBD lifestyle stuff that is like blowing my mind. What I see right now is the market is starting to adapt into lifestyle products, lifestyle programs. It's coming in a big way. So I see Amir and their company as a first mover. They're really doing big things, and I think that as long as they keep up that momentum and look for the right partnerships, they're essentially a target acquisition, right? So acquisition target. Okay, so welcome.
Thank you very much. What's up, y'all? How you doing? My name is Amir Zendehnam. I am the founder and formulator of a CBD and lifestyle company called Spekr. And today I am going to talk about the endocannabinoid and optimal human health, because as a lifestyle company, one of the philosophies that I've set around the company is something that I've coined called the full spectrum lifestyle. And the full spectrum lifestyle essentially covers all these different areas of life that connect into an optimal lifestyle. And the beautiful thing about cannabis as a plant and in your body is that it is the thing in your life and inside of you that is just evolutionarily found in us and so many different animals that gets us to that optimal state. So the beautiful thing that I've got to do with my company is essentially connect cannabis with optimal health, and through the whole lifestyle aspect, I focused a lot on the health world and the fitness world, and essentially my goal is really to normalize cannabis in the mainstream world so that in 10 or 20 years we can laugh about how we had to have these meetings even. So, it's really awesome that Greg was speaking before me, because part of the history of Spekr starting is literally how I met this guy right here. The CBD industry is very big, it's very lucrative, and I would implore everybody who's trying to get involved to do your research. Don't buy things from people that you don't know. Make sure that you find good people like these guys, because it's very hard in this market. We're in a white market now. So for the people who have been in the cannabis industry for years before, like me, I've been in the cannabis industry 10 years now. So as somebody who worked in the black market, who is now seeing how the white market works, you're dealing with a lot of different types of people that you weren't really thinking about in the black market. So I met these guys because I got screwed over on a CBD deal buying a kilo of CBD, and then it turned out some connection. I met this guy, and then he hooked me up with my first kilo of CBD to start Spekr. So thank you, Greg. Thank you very much. Like seriously, I was about to launch the company, and I didn't have my CBD like a week before, and then I met this guy, and we got to make all of our products and launch on the date that I wanted to launch. Another important thing is that I pretty much do Spekr solely by myself. And my homie Erin back here, she helps me too. And one of my goals is to show the world that you can have successful companies without that much money and without a huge team, and that's really what I try to show at Spekr. Now, let me blow your guys' mind with how cannabis is a necessary step for an optimally healthy lifestyle. All right, so what is optimal health? Optimal health is a term that most people didn't even understand until very recently. 8 or 9 years ago, when I would use the word optimal health, it would just kind of go over people's heads. The same way as the endocannabinoid people typically goes over people's heads. And we'll get to that too. So the World Health Organization says in their constitution that health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So what I have essentially put together to create this optimal full spectrum lifestyle are emotional, physical, spiritual, intellectual, and social health. And those are the 5 areas that you put together that create an optimal lifestyle for every single person in this room. So the important thing is, since every single one of our bodies has an endocannabinoid system that we were all born with, and taking in cannabinoids helps our body achieve homeostasis, essentially cannabinoids and optimal health just go hand in hand. All right, so This is a really important thing. I was talking about how people don't know what the words optimal health and the endocannabinoid system mean. They actually did a survey in 2013. It was conducted by the Medical Cannabis Evaluation in Sacramento, and the survey found that only 13% teach the endocannabinoid system to future doctors. So what the survey did was it went to med schools and it asked certain doctors that work at the med schools if they know what the endocannabinoid system is, if they teach the endocannabinoid system, and only 13% of the respondents knew anything about it. So what we typically learn are the 11 major organ systems. If you want to go to the next slide. It's all over here: reproductive, skeletal, muscular, nervous, endocrine system. But what they do not teach is the endocannabinoid system. So you guys can imagine that you are a doctor or training to be a doctor in medical school, and they're teaching you all this science and saying, all right, this connects to this, that connects to that, this is how you are a healthy person, this is what you're going to be recommending to all your patients. And then they subsequently miss this entire system that has receptors that litter your body from head to toe. So we can see why we have many health problems, and I'll get to that too. Because if the people who we trust to be the authority on optimal health, which in our society today are people with MDs, and they are not taught this huge system of the human body, then how are they ever going to properly diagnose things? So, alright, so the endocannabinoid system, Dr. Dustin Sulak said it's perhaps the most important physiologic system involved in establishing and maintaining human health. So the endocannabinoid system helps modulate the regulation of homeostasis across all major body systems. This affects everything from sleep, appetite, pain, inflammation, memory, mood, and reproduction. So this is the craziest part. If there's one thing in this entire presentation that has really blown my mind the most, it is the fact that when an imbalance is detected within our internal environment, the body synthesizes endocannabinoids, so it creates endocannabinoids that interact with the cannabinoid receptors. So this stimulates a chemical response and then brings your body back, or tries to bring it back to homeostasis. So there are multiple different components of the endocannabinoid system, and the endocannabinoid system is very important to understand, because the more you understand it, the more you start to see why there are all these holes in disease prevention and healing and curing. I'll use the word cure all day. So the different components of the endocannabinoid system are, there are three key components: the cannabinoid receptors, the endocannabinoids, and the metabolic enzymes. So the cannabinoid receptors, they were first found in the 1980s, and then in the 1990s they cloned the cannabinoid receptor 1 and cannabinoid receptor 2, which is CB1 and CB2. And then through that they have found multiple other receptors that it's very highly debated right now. So it's just fun science that's happening right now, because this is all still brand new. So you can imagine that doctors who got their medical degree in the 70s literally had no idea what a cannabinoid receptor even is, even though most doctors today still don't know. And then there are endocannabinoids. So those are cannabinoids that are naturally found in our bodies. Now this is very important, because we literally have a system in our body that essentially gives us cannabinoids for free to create awesome feelings. Anandamide, for example, is also called the bliss molecule. When you get the runner's high from exercising, that's anandamide releasing hardcore in your brain. And then you have the metabolic enzymes, and then those break down the cannabinoids. Then we have FAH and MHGI. So, as I was talking about the hunt for endocannabinoids and how throughout the 90s and today, throughout the 21st century, researchers all around the world are looking for other receptors, because essentially what's happening is the researchers turn off the certain genes in the mice, and then they'll see like they turn off CB1 and CB2, and then it still attaches to something. So the researchers are like, well, there's clearly another receptor that it's attaching to, we just need to figure out what it is. So this is like all the fun science that's happening right now. One of the important things too about cannabis science is when people tell you that cannabis doesn't have enough research behind it, that's absolute bullshit. There are thousands of pages of positive research on cannabis just on PubMed alone, which is a government accredited website. So for the people who make claims that cannabis has this negative effect and that negative effect, it's based off of science that is not even real. If you want to see the real science, it's all on PubMed. So much of this research too is government-sponsored research. You'll see like the American National Institute of Health or something, and you're like, wait a minute, that's government money. So that's essentially saying that for decades and decades, those government guys have been telling us that it's bad while they've been doing the research to show that it's actually really good and then making all that money off of it. So, you know, you see research from the 80s, it's talking about isolating CBG and CBN and CBC. And you're like, they were doing this in the 80s? Why is nobody talking about it today? So it's because the government knew about it and we didn't. So this is why it's important to go on their sources, and I provide all my sources here. If you see, they're all .gov sources. Because one of the biggest things I face too as somebody who helps cure cancer and autoimmune disorders, and I formulate these ingredients lists with my company to promote exactly what I'm talking about, so I don't use any fillers or anything. So one of the things that we have to do in the cannabis space that I've had to do very often is, if we have any holes in our argument, you'll have that one doctor over there and they'll be like, oh, well, you see, you're wrong here, so you're dangerous, you don't have an actual degree, so shut the fuck up. And that's essentially the type of mental abuse that I've faced through my time in the cannabis industry. And I mean, you were saying, you're like, you can't use the word cure. And that's why I use the word cure, because it pisses people off. So, and it's true. Like, we're curing something, and then we have to use a government's kind of like lingo. It's like, no, we're curing it. This is literally the definition. When it goes away 100% and it's gone, that is literally the definition of cure. So that's why, I mean, ultimately, it's like that. It is a dangerous thing to say. My company can be targeted for saying things like that. I know that, but we're in the cannabis space. Like, I've been selling weed for a long time. So, researchers describe the endocannabinoid system as the most complicated and ubiquitous signaling system in our bodies. Yet no one knew it was a part of our physiology until the 1980s, as I said. So the realization literally came because this guy was trying to figure out how THC works, and then they found that it was binding to these areas in the rats' brains, and then they were like, wait a minute, there's more to THC than just getting high. So the cool thing about the endocannabinoid system is that it's found all across the animal kingdom, in vertebrates, and they're finding it in non-vertebrate animals too now, which is really crazy. So one of the things I've been trying to figure out over the years is, how the hell did we all get an endocannabinoid system, and why do all of us across the animal kingdom share this certain system in our bodies where we can take in the same chemicals and then the same things almost happens to all of our bodies. So this is some of the research, and then there's another one next. So I like to post a lot of my research, go to the next slide please, because it's important to show this stuff. So if anybody wants to hit me up and they want this presentation so they can show their friends and family and convince their moms and dads that cannabis is actually really, really healthy for you, just hit me up. So now, these are the different types of endocannabinoids found, the cannabinoids naturally occurring in your body. The ones that we know the most about are anandamide and 2-AG, and these four down here are ones that are being newly discovered, and there's more and more findings about them every day. Again, the research is all on PubMed, so you can go and learn about all these things on government-accredited websites. So we got a fun fact here. Since I'm talking about anandamide, and I'm sure everybody here loves chocolate. So anandamide is found in chocolate together with two substances that might mimic the effects of anandamide. So it's really cool because as you see right here. So in 1996, there was a study on chocolate, and they found 3 fatty acid compounds that bind directly to cannabinoid receptors. So like you eat chocolate, and then it binds to your cannabinoid receptors. So it's doing something very similar when you're really happy off of eating a shitload of chocolate, and when you smoke a joint. So, and that happens because it indirectly acts on them through increased anandamide levels by inhibiting the FAH enzyme, and that's actually one of the metabolic enzymes that breaks down cannabinoids that I had in the last slide before. So this is just like a really cool fun fact that I figured out while I was eating chocolate and making this presentation. So I was like, all right, I'm add it in there. So now this is the very important part, the endocannabinoid system and fighting disease. So to promote optimal human health, I make the argument, and I've made this argument for many years, that you can't live an optimal lifestyle without taking in some form of phytocannabinoids. Like, you can't. We don't live in a world, you go outside and breathe the air and you're not in an optimal state. So to create homeostasis in our bodies, to constantly be fighting this negative force just by breathing the air out here that's constantly trying to imbalance our bodies, we take in the cannabinoids to create that balance in our bodies. And of course, cannabis is just one of many things that you can take in to create homeostasis, but damn, is it like one single thing that does so many awesome different things that it is one of those single plants that I absolutely recommend if you're trying to live a healthy lifestyle every single day. So there, as I was saying about the studies, there is research on, positive research about cannabis and the endocannabinoid system helping with neurodegenerative disorders, rheumatoid arthritis, cancer, different kinds of autoimmune disorders. Honestly, it's a really weird thing to say as somebody who understands. I have a background in sales, so as a salesman, I wouldn't go and say, oh, it does everything. Because if you say that, the salesman's usually bullshitting you. But it does everything. It really helps with everything. And if it's not THC, then you have over 100 other cannabinoids, phytocannabinoids that have been found so far that can help. And the reason that we need to be so open with what we do in the cannabis space is because, like Greg was saying, we need this research. And if we don't have the research, then it's not going to go mainstream. That's literally the only way that the mainstream community will accept this stuff. And you know what? Now that I read all this research, I understand. Their research is very like, they have high standards on their research. So I like that we have to follow their standards because it doesn't leave holes in our beliefs either. So these are the 3 studies that are for cancer and arthritis, and so this is very important. Clinical endocannabinoid deficiency is one of those topics that doesn't have too much research around it yet, but they've done studies on it, and that was always one of my thoughts was, if you aren't taking in cannabinoids, then how is your endocannabinoid system happy? And the answer is, more than likely, it's not happy. So that's going back to why we need to take in cannabinoids. This is the reason, because without them, there's research now that is showing that you get sick in all different kinds of ways if you do not take in some kind of cannabinoid in your daily lifestyle. So many people suffer from this endocannabinoid deficiency today. It's not, that statement right there is not a scientific statement yet. But as somebody who has been in the health space and helping with curing and healing for so many years, I see what happens after 24 hours of CBD use, after my dad has never touched a cannabinoid in his life, and then seeing how his body starts balancing out when he just takes in some CBD drops. So that's the awesome thing, is that you don't need to take thousands of milligrams of this stuff. You could be microdosing too. So this is the clinical endocannabinoid deficiency study. So cannabis, optimal health, and human history. We have been taking in this stuff for thousands of years. thousands of years of recorded history, so we can't even really imagine what was happening hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years ago. That's kind of one of my mindsets on the endocannabinoid system, is potentially something happened with cannabinoids through our evolution and through animal evolution, where there must have been hemp or something everywhere, and that's what they were eating maybe. So that's kind of my thought on how that could happen. But what the discovery of the endocannabinoid system did, though, while people have known for thousands of years that cannabis helps with epilepsy and headaches and arthritis, and all these things that we all know about today as well, which seems like common sense to us, but it's not yet. What the discovery of the endocannabinoid system did is it allowed us to kind of open those floodgates to tell you exactly why it helps with epilepsy and headaches and arthritis and pain, depression, and nausea, and show you all the research that can actually make you believe something like this. Because now that I'm reading all this research, I'm so much stronger in my own beliefs. So again, just go research. If you have any questions about cannabis, go on PubMed and just type in like cannabis epilepsy, cannabis arthritis. It's literally there. There will be hundreds of pages of articles that come up. It's really awesome, actually. So this is a study that they did on, they found cannabis from like 5,000 BC. And then this is essentially, as I was just talking about, how you don't need very high doses of cannabinoids to promote optimal health. This is a study that they did in 2017 of chronic low dose of THC, and it restored cognitive functions in old mice. So essentially, you don't need to get stoned out of your mind all day. You really don't even need to take THC. I'm actually very excited to see new research that comes out with this stuff, with things like THCA, CBDA, and the different kinds of non-psychoactive cannabinoids. So ultimately, be taking your cannabinoids in one way or another. Even if it's low dose, the studies are there. Even if you're taking 5-10 milligrams a day, you're still doing yourself better than if you're not. So what does this all mean? All right, so as I was saying in the very beginning, the idea that I've kind of created, it's called the full spectrum lifestyle. Spekr is short for full spectrum, and essentially the reason that I created that name is because I just kept thinking, like, what do I do? And the answer was, I do everything. And when you take these things, the emotional, physical, spiritual, intellectual, and social, and you put those together, you realize that really is every aspect of life. And if you can combine these different things, whether it's through communication, exercise, meditation, studying, or exploring, you get to live that optimal lifestyle. So cannabinoids are the first steps to that, and it's a first step to many different things in your life that you should be doing from this moment that you wake up to the moment that you go to sleep to be happy and healthy. We live in a time now where all the information is literally right there. It's in your pocket right now. So to be optimally healthy, it's the best time on earth. We have cheap products that can promote this stuff. We have all the information in the world. So if there's anything that y'all can take away from this, it's that living an optimal lifestyle is not as hard as people have typically made you believe. It starts with just a little bit of cannabis. So that's why all of these things, the one common thing that everything has, and in my own personal life, one of the things that it's always come back to cannabis. Every single thing I do in my life just comes back to cannabis, and that is why I centered cannabis around the full spectrum lifestyle that I literally created my entire company model after. So thank you very much, y'all. I'll take some questions now. What's up, bro?
How'd you get so great?
I smoke a lot of weed. They told me that if I smoke a lot of weed, I'll get stupid, and then I got really, really smart instead. So yeah, just read things. Like when that's my ultimately, like, all these pieces of research that I showed are things that up until recently it was just doctors who had the information, because 10 years ago they'd be like, "Where's your PubMed article, bro?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't have it." Now it's like, here you go. So this is ultimately just read. Like, you don't need to get a degree in chemistry or biology from some college to know this stuff. You just need to read it. So.
Hell yeah. Do you have a business plan for the next 1, 5, 10 years for Spekr?
I do, yeah. My goal with Spekr is to continue on the full spectrum lifestyle, which includes getting out of cannabinoids. So I'm working on different supplements right now, and different products, mushroom products, shilajit-based fulvic acid products, and then I want to get into all the different cannabinoids. So my 5 to 10 year plan is to do exactly what you were talking about, how people are funding their own research, because I'm not going to go to the government to ask them for money to do research on something that they're going to throw me in a cage for. So I'm going to go make the money myself and hopefully fund that, because with over 100 different phytocannabinoids found so far, that just means for everybody in this room, there are over 100 different compounds that nobody knows about except us, and there are billions and billions of dollars to be made off of this stuff. And also, there are a bunch of big pharmaceutical corporations that we get to take out with these different compounds. So, Spekr.co, Spekr.store, we're doing a flash sale today, 25% off on everything. You guys want to check it out, because you guys should check out Spekr. Spekr Official is our social media. That's how he saw me right here, and he liked what he saw. We are really trying to get this mindset out of just this type of space, and a lot of people talk about doing that and going into these other worlds and making cannabis popular, and they never really do it that well. But what I've shown with Spekr, I've only had this company for 7 months. It's a global company now, and it just goes to show you that this stuff is very popular right now, and people are more receptive than they've ever been, ever. So go tell everybody about it, go make money off of it, go start companies, and make the world a better place, so we are the good guys of the future that run the world.
Woo!